Welcome back for another helping of oysters, clams, and Carrie Coon, presented by Bolin Media. I am Resort Manager Ross Bolin, here with concierge extraordinaire Barrett Dudley to recap and discuss the second episode of the White Lotus Season 3, fresh off the beach. Barrett, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, I had a great week. I was just doing a little of this, little of that.
Of course.
That's how I like to describe it, in a vague location on a Florida key.
Good way to make a living.
And that's all I'll say about that.
Did they have an ocean hammock at your resort?
There were no ocean hammocks.
I've never had an ocean hammock.
I think that exists exclusively in these Pacific. What are these? Thailand is considered a Pacific island? I believe.
I think so.
Yeah.
I can't be too sure.
That's accurate.
But yeah, we'll go with that.
We're 100% on that.
Anyway, I badly want one of these.
Don't you feel like that's something that you see in scenes of Bali, Thailand, Bora Bora?
Most definitely. But why not in the Caribbean or the Bahamas?
I think because
the Gulf of America.
Maybe it's too wavy. You need
choppy.
Too choppy.
It's got to be calm.
Yeah, you need a real placid and shallow bay.
Yeah, I might dig one in my backyard.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. That'd be sweet.
Got to do something.
Yeah.
Before we dive into the, go ahead.
I was thinking about the hammocks while they were. I was attuned to the sea hammocks. I'm not sure if I'm down with it.
What?
I don't know if I just want. It's kind of like the tubing thing of when you're you don't know what's biting your ass down there. You know what I mean?
Nothing's biting your ass, Barrett. Have some faith in the sea. You got to believe. Oh, I was all about this.
You wanted that. You wanted that real
so
bad.
bad. Yeah. So bad.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we dive into the latest happenings at the White Lotus Thailand, a reminder that tomorrow, on Tuesday, we will release our Severance Season 2, Episode 6 companion podcast exclusively on patreon.com/oystersclamscockles. If you're confused about which tier you should be joining on Patreon, there is a pinned post at the top of our page explaining everything. So if you're one of the people who didn't listen to me at the top of our Season 2, Episode 4 companion podcast, Severance coverage is now exclusively on Patreon, and you should have listened. Our Episode 5 companion podcast dropped on Valentine's Day, then Barrett went on a little vacation, so our Episode 6 companion podcast drops tomorrow, Tuesday, February 25th. So much to talk about regarding Severance, so go to patreon.com/oystersclamscockles today and subscribe. Enjoy the 7-day free trial, and stick around to support the podcast. We've got 2 separate episodes of our podcast dropping on Patreon every week for the duration of the overlap between the White Lotus Season 3 and Severance Season 2, with further digestion and discussion of the latest White Lotus episode driven by hotline calls from listeners as one podcast, and a companion podcast for the latest from Severance as the other podcast. Patreon.com/oystersclamscockles, where over 2,300 listeners and watchers are already supporting our show and waiting for you. Get in there today. All right, Episode 2 of Season 3 is titled Special Treatments. Written by Mike White. Directed by Mike White. Look at me, I'm Mike White, I'm bisexual and bi-talented, and I can have it all.
Oh, he's an auteur, baby.
Ah.
Speaking of Mike White and his sexuality, I'm blown away by the numbies in the comments that are happening on a TikTok reel where we call out the JO scene, as it were, from Episode 1, and just dozens, dozens of guys coming in, quite literally, with hundreds of likes on their comments about how this is just, y'all are just cranking out there. Y'all are just checking into hotels and cranking.
Yeah.
You're just getting into a hotel, and first thing is just dropping trowel and you're cranking. And I don't know what's going on with you guys, but you need to keep it in your pants a little bit.
Chill out.
Look, I'm not saying that I'm look, who amongst us? Whomst amongst us, right?
Not
sure.
me.
But I just, everybody just coming out of the woodwork being like, yeah, this is what you do. You get to a hotel and you bust out that lappy and you just go to fucking town. And I am just, I don't know what's happening out there. I'm just flabbergasted by the by what's happening in the comments section there, Ross.
I noticed this as well because when I got on TikTok, it was like you have 27 comments waiting for approval. And I guess certain comments, like if they have a certain degree of sexuality, they get flagged and you have to go in and manually approve them. And all 27 of those comments were dudes being like, who doesn't immediately crank in a hotel room? And I was like, what the fuck? What is happening here? It's not that shocking, but it was kind of shocking how many people were motivated to like comment and clarify, like, everybody's doing this. It's like, whoa, dude. And first, internet pornography has destroyed society, but like when you go on vacation, that's when you try to like leave behind the shittiest parts of you. These dudes are hitting the hotel and immediately firing up Pornhub, and I was just like, oh my god, what the hell?
And I also,
is it a territorial thing?
I haven't been in that many hotel rooms solo. Right? Like, it's like on a work trip is basically the only time I've been in solo hotel room.
Yeah, and even then, a lot of the times on work trips, they'll give you a roommate.
Right? Sometimes. You know? But everybody in the comments just seems to be like, no, this is I'm vacation cranking. And I don't know where your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend or whoever else is like, I don't know what they're doing.
They don't care.
While you're doing that, but like...
They're cranking in the other bathroom.
I guess so, but
or on the balcony.
But if you're a non-cranker, I need you to get into those TikTok comments. Wade in there, Now be careful in there, but wade in there, and I don't know, maybe put some weight on the other side of that scale, baby.
Somebody needs to. Okay, tell me the intro music didn't hit harder this week.
Okay, it was slightly better.
Yeah.
But there is a scene in this episode where they dropped the real thing, that straight Colombian, and I was just like, I was no more gassed up was I than during those scenes in the episode.
Yeah. Okay, that was a mistake. I don't know.
Here we go.
It almost made me wonder, like, did they see all the feedback and then decide to plug this into the middle of the episode? But I got to, like, I wasn't quite there, but I was almost at fist pumping status by the end of the intro song this week.
I did notice that the intro song it gets a little thumpy right at the end.
Yeah, lasts like 10 seconds.
Yeah, but I wish it was thumpy a little earlier.
It's short-lived.
It's very short-lived, yeah.
I'm with you. But I thought they undid any momentum they had with the intro song this week, which I think was palpable. People on the internet seem to agree with me. I did a tweet.
Okay.
I did a tweet.
Yeah.
And then they undid it with the insertion of the in the middle of the episode, and people were like, "That's the real shit I want."
Yeah.
So I don't know about that mistake.
Even just you doing that, out of your mouth. It stirs something in us, man.
Yeah.
It's
primal.
It's feral, as a lot of people were calling
instinctive.
it. But primal is another good one, and I need it. I need it. So I'm happy for its inclusion elsewhere, because at least I'm still getting a little taste, a little taste, a little
something.
A little nummy.
Yeah. I predict the haters and doubters, of which there are many, will be sucked in before the end. I think people are going to come around on this, okay?
Okay.
This episode starts with our trio of victory-lapping MILFs, and today we're going to cover one group of characters at a time to make things more linear, so we'll start with our three over-the-hill baddies first.
Yeah.
Pretty sure we pick up literally where we left off with them at the end of episode 1.
Yes.
Like, it's still their first night at the resort. Jacqueline, played by Michelle Monaghan, and Kate, played by Leslie Bibb, are still talking after Laurie, played by Carrie Coon, went up to her room, right? So they're going on about how happy they are to see each other in person, that dinner twice a year just doesn't cut it. Jacqueline says she hasn't seen Laurie in like 4 years, so maybe even a little more distance there. Maybe these other two have been able to get together a couple times a year, whereas Laurie has not. They start gossiping about Laurie's divorce, saying she had to pay her ex-husband, palimony, which I guess is the flip of alimony.
Correct. Yeah.
When the woman has to pay the man.
Patriarchal alimony.
This was an interesting little thing they tapped into here. Mm-hmm. Jacqueline says, "Can you imagine after he freeloaded off her for years?"
Yeah.
I am personally not touching that one with a 10-foot pole, but it is worth noting. Apparently, Laurie's kid, Ellie, which is not the name of the... People were theorizing that Laurie's kid was going to be the younger girl from season 2 of The White Lotus.
Okay.
The one that gets tripped up with the con man that's actually banging his uncle.
Yes.
His quote-unquote uncle.
Yes. Ooh, man, God, who could forget? Wow.
Yeah, great character. But no, no connection. So Ellie, Lori's child, has been struggling since her parents' divorce, been kicked out of 2 schools for being a hitter.
A bruiser.
A bruiser. She throws furniture.
Is that something that you've are those words that you've heard with your forays into day school and daycare? Are there hitters out there?
Oh, are there
bruisers?
It's the biters that you worry about.
It's the biters.
It's the biters that you want to avoid.
Yeah.
And what's really frustrating is when the biting does occur, which it will. They won't give you a name. They just say he was bitten by a friend, and I'm like, what friend bites? That's not a friend. That's an enemy. Give me a name. And they won't give you a name. It's part of the school policy because they don't want parents fighting each other in the parking lot, which is a real bummer.
Yeah.
Because I want to fight somebody.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So next thing you know...
Hey, your kid bit my kid!
Get over here! Kate is saying you have to wonder about people who raise their children in New York City because there's nowhere to play, there's no childhood, so they're all sucking each other off at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Which was a jarring... accusation, but also kind of I've only been to New York City once. You've been a lot more than me,
right?
But that would be a very different type of childhood.
100%
living in the Big Apple.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Not for everybody, but can be done.
Yeah, that's where Lori works, though. I guess is kind of one of the important takeaways. She's a New York City gal.
That's right. So we've got we're tri-coastal with these 3.
Yeah,
we've got an
West Coast,
L.A., Austin, Texas, aka the third coast, is what I'm referencing there.
Yeah.
If you know, you know, and New York over on the East Coast.
Then Jacqueline says Lori thought she was going to make partner at some firm. She ended up not making partner, and Kate speculates that that's why she must look so defeated. Partner, isn't that strictly a term in like legal offices or at least most of the time you hear that? It just made me wonder if she was a lawyer, is what I'm saying.
I was getting lawyer vibes. I do think partner it's you can be a partner in any type of firm, whether that's a consulting firm or private equity firm or whatever.
I guess it could be private equity or something.
But yeah. So in any firm, anything where there's like a group of people at the top that are the partners because they are sharing in the profits.
In the profits, yeah. Jacqueline brings up Laurie's drinking. How much she's drinking. They're really going in here. And then bang, bang, bang. Lori is shit-faced banging on the window. It legit sounds like gunfire when she does. It scared the hell out of me, too. Really scared Kate and Jacqueline.
Did you also think that a monkey was banging on the window?
Kate thought it was a monkey. Yeah. But no, it's not time for a monkey attack yet. You got to build towards it.
That's right.
It's coming. There will be a monkey attack. I guarantee it. But not yet. Lori forgot her bag with her charger, so she grabs that. The fake love fest continues on. They've just been bashing her, talking about all the problems.
This was a smart move, though, but from Jacqueline. This was shrewd move here.
To say like, we were just talking about you. Clear the air.
You clear that air real fast.
Because why would she say we were talking about you if it was bad?
Exactly. Yeah, very smart move there.
It's that not double entendre, reverse psychology.
A little bit of reverse
psychology, yeah. So then Lori's off to bed after some hugs and kisses or whatever. The next morning at breakfast, the ladies are greeted by Valentin, their Russian health mentor. He lets them know they're going to do their biomarker tests this morning, and they'll come up with a protocol for each of them based on the results. Now, did you get the feeling that everybody does this, or is this something you opt into? We obviously heard Pam bring up the biomarker test to the Ratliff family.
They've rejected
Victoria was afraid of it, didn't want to take a test.
Yes.
Jet lagged.
I do think this is probably this is kind of the, this is their general offering. They want to put you through the biomarker test.
So they can
dial you in for your
customize
your wellness treatments.
Your wellness stuff. Okay.
Yeah, but the Ratliffs obviously reject it. And it seems like Chelsea and Rick the Dick also skip this part.
Yeah. Jacqueline says one of them has to try Valentin. You got to try him. It's a weird way of putting it. And Lori is the only one who's single, so Jacqueline's kind of suggesting, like, Lori, you got to go for it. Maybe you won't be as miserable if you get laid. So at her biomarker test, Lori starts to work the flirting action a little bit with Valentine, just a bit.
Yeah.
And when they've finished, he tells her that her numbers are very good. Quote, "These markers could be a woman half your age." Very good numbers. I immediately knew that once the girls got back together, maybe not all of them, but at least one other one was going to have this exact same experience with him, right? Yeah, he's working it, Valentine. So later at the beach, Jacqueline says Valentine told her that her hydration level was one of the highest he's ever seen. And Lori says her fat mass is only 25%, which is good. And Jacqueline is shocked by Lori's fat mass because that's about the same as her fat mass percentage too. And just extremely disrespectful, underhanded skepticism here from Jacqueline.
Too much skepticism.
Looks at Lori and goes, "Well, I'm better than that." You know? Turns out Valentine told both Lori and Jacqueline that they have the numbers of someone half their age. Not Kate, though. Hers are just average.
Yeah, she's got to work on that.
Yeah, Jacqueline says...
Something to strive for.
She says, "I'm sure living in Austin, the food is probably fattier. Butter and steak." And I immediately was like, whoa. Hold up. That is not...
Unnecessary shots fired at all.
That's not part of our reputation.
No.
Houston?
This is classic, like, everybody in Texas rides a horse on a dirt road type stuff. You know? And it doesn't fly anymore. Not in 2025, Ross. You know, come on.
Enough.
Austin is considered a popular city because of its healthy lifestyle and outdoor activity level.
Yeah. We're as California as you can get in Texas.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
Jacqueline, fucking hater.
Read a book.
Seriously. But where you and I are from, Houston, I would consider that to be a largely, I mean, there are healthy food options, no doubt, but they're drowned out by literally tens of thousands of fast food restaurants and unhealthy restaurants. But to put that on Austin felt
totally... Do you
totally...
remember growing up how, like, Houston was always one of the fattest cities?
Yeah, I talked about it all the time.
Yeah. I feel like that we've been unburdened from that title.
Charles Barkley accused all the women in San Antonio of being fat, and now I feel like they've taken the fat crown.
Okay.
Like on a national stereotype level, you know?
Got it.
And we're kind of, we're getting away with it. But Kate stands up for Austin food. She says, "I eat mostly chicken. For protein, I eat chicken. I eat turkey. I like beans." She explains that she used to not like beans, but then she used her own Jedi mind tricks to convince herself that she does like beans. It was probably the most personality we've gotten out of Kate so far, her little food spiel here. They have a healthy diet off. They're all trying to be healthier than the other. Jacqueline talks about how she's married to a guy 10 years younger than her, so she has to eat healthy because his body is crazy.
Yeah.
And
it's part of her job, Ross, you know.
His name is
to eat healthy as well.
His name is Harrison, and they're kind of addicted to each other. It's a problem, Barrett. You know? Lori's like, "Well, you've only been married for a year, so..." But Jacqueline says she doesn't think she'll ever get tired of it. Both Kate and Lori are disgusted by her, you know, saying she's obsessed with her partner. So I guess based on what happened here, Valentine is gunning for either Jacqueline or Lori because he didn't hit Kate with the same line. So I feel like the competition over him is going to come down to those two women.
Okay.
And that there might be a rift as a result of Valentine. That night at dinner, Sritala, the owner of the resort, is set to perform. So the resort manager Fabian tells the three ladies about how all the performers tonight are staff. Sritala encourages everybody to tap into their creative side and get into music. So Fabian says he has started to learn songs and play piano. So they ask, like, almost jokingly, what night he'll be performing. And he said, at first he's like, "I wouldn't dare," but then he slowly talks himself into it. He's like, "Well, I'm the boss, so maybe one day."
Yeah.
It's very awkward. They don't know how to respond. He simply walks away. I've seen some takes on this, but like Fabian as our resort manager, the resort manager tends to be a pretty big role.
Resort manager Fabian, yeah.
And people are not as into this guy as they have been in the past. Remind me, season 1. Resort manager, what's that dude's name who played
His
him?
name's slipping my mind.
It's going to kill me.
Yeah.
But he was completely off the rails.
Yeah, and an amazing character. And then in season 2, we had the kind of the main, the GM.
Murray Bartlett.
Yeah.
Was season 1's
yes,
as Armand.
And then we had the Italian woman general manager of season 2.
Yeah, Sabrina Impacciatori.
There we go.
She played Valentina.
So I'm glad that you brought this up because I was thinking about some of the ways that this season so far has been different than the first 2. And this I thought about this. I thought about those 2 characters, and I was like, we don't really have a comp for them.
They're pretty central characters in those seasons.
And so I don't even consider Fabian
a main character.
Right. Like, I guess
he's a side character.
I guess he is in that slot, basically, if you're just, if you're matching up a lineup, a 1 through 9, if you will.
Baseball.
But yeah, he didn't even, right now he's so tertiary that he did not even, like, crack, like, my, like, my field of vision for somebody that was in that spot. Right. Really, it's, I mean, if it's anybody, it's
Belinda?
It's the performer, the co-owner of the hotel.
Sritala.
Yeah. She's honestly...
Porchai also seems more important than
I would say
Fabian.
Sritala to me right now is more in that slot. But nobody is as dynamic as Valentina and Armand were at the moment from the hotel's side.
Right. Yeah. And we'll see if that develops more as the show goes on. But so far, Fabian is just like this awkward sort of self-conscious guy. Right. So that night after dinner, Jacqueline goes off to read Sritala's book that they find in the room there. Because, if you're the owner of the resort and you wrote a book, you stick it in all the rooms. She's going off to bed. She seems kind of sad. My take here was that she's like looking at Sritala and the performance she did and how she says, once a performer, always a performer. And she sees the book. And I think she's kind of judging Sritala as almost like a washed up, celebrity, like that might happen to her, Jacqueline.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, just kind of considering her fate longer term. I mean, she's middle-aged at this point, Jacqueline. Right. And certainly, as we have recently seen in the movie The Substance, things change drastically when you go from a young, hot 20-something A-list celebrity to, mid-40s.
Right.
So that was my take. Because I read into this during my second watch through this morning, and I was like, what is her deal? Why does she seem... Because she seems super happy the rest of the show in both episodes so far. And then she has this down moment where she goes to bed.
Yeah, but she... So I rewound this scene because, and I asked my wife Laura what her take was it, because you start hearing the whispers from the other room.
And she knows they're still talking.
And I said, do you think she can hear what they're saying? And Laura said yes. She thinks she can hear them gossiping about her.
Okay. Yeah, because they did make it like fuzzy enough to where you can't actually make out anything other than that. Like, clearly there are words coming through the walls, but not...
But
clearly enough.
I was unsure because the fact that they don't let us hear audible words was confusing, right?
Yeah.
So you can't really get a good read if she was able to hear them or not.
I would note words do not pop up in the subtitles either.
Yeah, that's right. So that's an interesting one. But right now I was kind of under the assumption that she maybe heard that they were gossiping about her.
So let's say, just for the sake of argument, that she can't actually make out what's being said, which it felt like the show was trying to impress upon us. Even so, the takeaway is that all three of these women, so far we really just have definitive proof on Lori and Jacqueline, they don't like when they're not part of the conversation and are worried about what that conversation will be.
Yeah, well, yeah, and for good reason, because so far, anytime two of them are separated,
they go after the other one.
They're going to gossip about the other one.
And it does tend to be the way these things sort of work, to varying degrees of toxicity.
Yeah.
In their case, getting more and more toxic by the minute. Lori and Kate stay up and gossip about Jacqueline. Lori says Jacqueline is so competitive. Kate says she's always been like that. Lori is trying to feel Kate out, get her to talk shit about Jacqueline with her, and it works. She gets her there pretty quickly. It doesn't take much of a nudge. Kate asks if Jacqueline sandblasted her face or something. It's very waxy. She's still gorgeous though, Barrett, but it's waxy. And I hate that when... It's a thing that happens. Some women get a lot of work done, and then suddenly they're too shiny.
Yes.
You know? Just to throw my 2 cents in here.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
They question the legitimacy of Jacqueline's marriage to this fella Harrison that's 10 years younger, saying they're never in the same city, they never see each other, that maybe she's sort of fabricating how obsessed they are and addicted they are to each other to kind of overcompensate for the fact that they're actually not together often.
Yeah.
Kate says she thinks Jacqueline is lonely and that this is all a front. And you know what they say about fronts?
Yeah,
the bigger the
front, the bigger the back.
The bigger the back.
Obviously. Yeah. Everybody does say that.
Lori's like, right. Because that means nothing. So that's it for the trio. That's all that happens with them in this episode. Pretty uneventful for the most part.
Yeah.
With them, with the ladies.
I think we're just ratcheting up the inevitable blow-ups between all three of them.
We're just going to get a little more resentment every week.
That's right. Yeah.
Until they kill each other.
We're building it up. with
the monkey war.
Yeah.
They're going to kill each other in the monkey war at the end of the season. Yeah. All right, well, let's hop over to our resort employees, Mook and Guy Talk, who greet each other in the moped and motorbike parking lot for employees. Mook's bike has been fixed by Guy Talk. He invites her to lunch, says he wants to talk to her. Our boy Guy Talk is going to shoot his shot. Cue more Khruangbin. They do play another Khruangbin song in this episode.
I was like, ooh, I know this song and I like this song. This was also vibes. I Shazammed it on my phone because I'm almost 40. And
you have Shazam on your phone still?
Did you know this? It's just on your phone now. It is an app. I think Apple must have bought it because it's just on your phone now.
What do you mean? Like, you can just say, don't do it because our series are all going to go crazy.
You pull down right here and you can add a little Shazam button right down at the bottom, baby.
How about that?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. You have to add it.
Okay.
But it's there.
Out of control.
That's right. There. Ooh, yeah. See? Yeah.
Recognize music.
Boom.
Wow, it doesn't
right there.
even say
It doesn't even say
Shazam.
Shazam. No, but that is the Shazam logo.
Look, I got it now.
You got it.
See me?
Now you can Shazam too.
How about that?
And I was like, oh, yeah, more Khruangbin. And
Yep.
you mentioned that they were on the so that's 2
for 2.
That's exciting. That's exciting stuff.
It's a group, right?
Yes.
It's not one guy.
That's right. It's a group.
Okay. I thought so.
Yeah. So good stuff there. I like how they're doing the Thai words behind the subtitles.
We didn't mention this.
I forgot to mention it week 1. Very cool. Very
Stylistically,
cool stuff.
it's a nice little touch there.
Yeah.
It's nice. So later at lunch, Guy Talk makes his move. He tells Mook he likes her, that their families know each other, her brothers like him, they work at the same hotel, they're from the same town, he knows she's smarter than him, and he's not really a genius, but he's pretty handy. I thought it was a good pitch.
I thought so too, but notable that he's basically like, yo, we should get married.
Yeah, he did go a little hard and fast, I guess.
But it made me very curious about, like, modern day Thai culture, whether that is something that's still kind of like, is it still kind of like that, where you're just like, hey, you know what? I think this could work
for life.
And then the next week you're hitched.
Yeah. Well,
Mook seems to be more like, we haven't
she
even
says
been
we've never been on a date. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And he's like, let's go on one tonight. And every night.
So she's tapping the brakes a little bit, but
he keeps pushing though.
Yeah, he's pushing hard.
She says, "Don't be weird, Guy Talk. Eat your lunch." So she shuts him down, but like gently.
Yeah.
And I feel good about his momentum at this point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So later, Valentine rides off on his motorcycle because, of course, Valentine's got a motorcycle. We're not talking about like a little dirt bike like Guy Talk's got or one of these mopeds. He's got a man's motorcycle out there, and he has to stop at the security gate though on his way out.
Is that a Ducati?
I don't think so.
Hey, sorry, random aside here, but that's why y'all love us, right? You're a big fan of Tim Robinson's I Think You Should Leave.
Yeah.
Have you watched Detroiters?
I've watched the first couple.
Okay, all right.
Why?
Because I just watched like the first 5 episodes. It was some of my plane viewing.
Oh yeah.
And there's an episode called Hog Riders.
Oh shit.
Where they get a Ducati.
Okay. I don't know
there's good laughs.
I don't know how you felt about Detroiters so far, but when I watched the first episode and it ended, I was like, how does this not get talked about more?
I agree.
Because everyone talks about I Think You Should Leave. It gets a ton of credit, million memes.
And this is a lot of the same humor.
Yeah, it's pretty much exactly the same humor.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little less like...
It's in a more narrative...
Correct. Yeah.
Setting.
Yes. Yeah, like every single piece of... Every visual in I Think You Should Leave is like a non sequitur, basically.
Right.
This has some story to
This
it.
is way less of a... It's not a sketch comedy show.
Right. More, yes.
I Think You Should Leave is all sketches.
Correct.
This is just 2 doofuses.
Running an ad firm.
being absolute morons. Yeah. It's
but
fantastic.
Shouts to Detroiters. It's pretty funny. And if you're a fan, then you'll know what I'm talking about with the hog riding. Valentine pulls up on a hog here.
He does.
And Ross, I don't think Valentine's up to any good.
You don't? You think this was intentional?
Oh, yeah, I sure do.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
He's a problem, this Russian.
I would say so. Look, I've seen enough heist movies to know that this was an obvious, this for me, this was a pretty obvious distraction attempt here.
Okay.
While the car speeds in.
Yeah. Because they're exchanging friendly banter. He invites Guy Talk to see a big fight on Friday, says he can get him a ticket. And unfortunately, while they're chatting, an SUV with some armed robbers in it rolls through the security checkpoint. Guy Talk reacts. He's like, what? Oh, crap. Valentine doesn't really seem to care.
Correct.
Which gives some points to your theory, I think. So they go in and rob the store that Chelsea and Chloe are shopping in, and we'll talk about the robbery a little bit later. Okay. But after the robbery, the SUV tries to leave. Guy Talk, still in his security station, comes out and is like, hey, stop it! And goes after the guy that's I don't know what this dude was thinking. He drives up to the security checkpoint, just straight up gets out of the front seat, and then is going to raise the security thing himself.
You'd think he should have just blown right through it?
Yes. What are you doing? That's what you do. You blow through that thing.
Right.
But Guy Talk tries to stop him. He gets pistol whipped. So not that bad, but bad.
Bad.
Right? Very bad.
We're talking concussion. But, I mean, you risk a fractured skull. Nobody wants to get pistol whipped.
That night, Mook comes and checks on Guy Talk. She was worried about him. He's scoring points. She says he's very brave, and she'll see him tomorrow. Now, one thing about the robbery I would like to ask right here.
Okay.
Nobody seems to be shocked.
Yeah. So there's do you want to talk about the robbery?
Yeah, screw it. Let's talk about the robbery.
There's a angle that they shoot from where there's a woman on a computer. But I don't know who she is or where she is. I'm kind of assuming front desk,
lobby,
front desk check-in.
Yes.
And she just continues typing on her computer,
Completely
absolutely
misses
unconcerned, or doesn't even see what happens.
I thought she didn't see it because he walks in pretty quickly.
Yep.
He's masked up with a hoodie on, but you think he could still be a guest. Plus, the mask is a medical mask, in which people wear.
Right. Okay.
But it does seem like that when they showed that angle, it did seem like the woman at that desk on the computer was oblivious to what was occurring.
Okay.
But they give you an angle where it's you can see the robber through the door in there through the glass doing the robbery.
Right.
So that was a little weird. Shouldn't Guy Talk be fired? Are they I just thought it was so strange that we see this whole thing unfold. You see the cop cars driving up and everything, and then nobody mentions it other than Chelsea saying they got their room comped as a result of her almost dying. Her words, not mine.
Good question. I feel like it probably all this happens in the matter of I feel like they get through the gate and probably 90 seconds later they're in, maybe even less, maybe 60 seconds later he's walking into the hotel bashing the things, and then it's a smash and grab,
in and out.
So I feel like, I don't know, the explanation is probably pretty simple from Guy Talk. He's like, I was opening the gate for Valentine. As soon as I did, this car sped in. As soon as it came back out, I tried to stop them.
And they hit me with a gun.
And so it's what
are they going to do?
He did do his best to confront on their way out.
Yeah.
And he was assaulted. So,
It would here's, in my experience, touristy places, whether it be an island, resort community or whatever, they are really, really, really strict about crime with tourists because as everyone would imagine, if there's a bunch of crime at tourist locations or at resorts, guests stop coming because they don't want to be involved in armed robberies.
Right.
So they tend to have extremely harsh punishments for criminals in these areas. So it was just kind of strange that occurred and then just got swept on under the rug. And it didn't completely. I mean, Chelsea brings it up and seems like she's traumatized by it and all that. And we'll touch on it a little bit more later. But it's just something to note. I was like, what the fuck? I thought that was going to consume the rest of the episode, the fallout from the robbery. And we're going to have to deal with interviewing people and stuff. But
I think they're slow playing it a little bit. We're not done with the robbery.
I think you're probably right about your suspicions of Valentine and there being some type of corruption going on here.
A little conspiracy action with some of the hotel staff.
Little OC, little organized crime situation. As much fun as it is to be on vacation at a luxurious resort with wonderful meals and expensive restaurants every night, most of us can't afford to live that way very often, if at all. We do have to eat, though, and preferably, we'd like to eat well. That's where today's sponsor, Factor Meals, comes in. Ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes so you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. If you're like me, some days you get home from work or school or whatever, and you just need to be able to plop down on the couch and enjoy the next episode of your favorite TV show without worrying about what's for dinner. Factor takes this dream and makes it a reality with the best meals delivered straight to your door. Dinner time at my house can be pretty chaotic. 2 little kids, 4 dogs. It's nice that some nights my wife and I can turn to Factor to make sure our family is still eating well when we don't have the time or energy to cook. Got my latest box of Factor week before last. Delicious, fast, convenient, incredible food. Factor arrives fresh and fully prepared, perfect for any active, busy lifestyle. Factor. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week, it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. You can choose from preferences like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, or Keto. Reach your goals this year with ingredients you can trust and convenience that can't be beat. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast and use code factorpodcast to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next 4 boxes. That's Factor Podcast. That's the code at factormeals.com/factorpodcast to get 50% off plus 20% off your next 4 boxes. Factormeals.com/factorpodcast. All right, next let's bounce over to the Ratliffs. That was it for old Guy Talk and Mook. Mm-hmm. They made some progress.
Yeah.
The
courtship has begun in earnest.
Indeed. Piper starts her day off doing some yoga. Lachlan starts his day off admiring his brother Saxon's bare ass. So we're doing this.
Yeah. I just came across a Reddit thread last week that was women. This was on the Austin sub, and it was calling out men in Austin that are going to yoga classes and doing what this man did.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's actually later in the episode. But yes, it's a problem.
Yeah. So don't look.
Now, here's the thing. Here's where he got in trouble.
Yeah.
This guy. Because you're talking about the scene where later on she goes to a yoga class and there's this dude who just keeps creeping on her.
Well, it's her treatment, her yoga. Oh,
she starts off the day doing yoga in her room though, in the morning by herself. She's hitting some,
Okay. Got it.
What is it?
Intentions? Setting intentions?
Hitting some cat cow or something?
Doing some cat cow?
Well, but typically in these yoga studios, there are mirrors everywhere.
Yeah.
So you can get away with some creeping without having to be a psychopath?
Correct.
This guy he's one of the LBHs, one of the losers back home.
Yeah.
One of the baldies, and he's just this is psychotic behavior.
You cannot do this. You cannot do this. This is borderline like assault. It's harassment. It's harassment.
It's not good.
No.
They will ask you to not return to the yoga studio after someone reports you for staring at them the entire class.
Like a glance once, okay. It's
innocent glance. It happens.
Innocent, yeah, right. But every time you go into a new move,
finding another angle? No,
creeping
sir.
around, turning back.
No, sir. Go back home.
No more yoga classes for you.
No.
And we get a bad rap. There's another thing that's happening on the internet right now where specifically women at Solid Core, there's a group of women at Solid Core that they do not want men coming to Solid Core.
What is Solid Core?
Solid Core is like a ultra Pilates.
Okay.
It's like not a classic reformer. It's like a mega former or something. They call it like that. It's super intense Pilates basically. And there are
dudes are crashing these classes and
dudes
creeping?
are going to the classes and they should be allowed to go. But there is a group of women that does not want men at these Solid Core classes. Like this is supposed to be a woman's space, even though it's not designed as a female only space. And so there's debate. There's debate about this. But guys like this I feel like that's why it's happening in the first place.
Ruining it for everybody.
They're ruining it for everybody.
Look, bro, if you must find a way to be subtle. This is not it. This is not okay, and you are ruining it for everyone. We're trying to go to Solid Core classes.
We're trying to go, yeah.
What the hell, man?
Yeah.
Anyway, so Father Timothy, the dad, the father, wakes up to the sound of Mother Victoria snoring as she is in a lorazepam coma. They go down to breakfast where Tim is immediately upset that their coffee doesn't arrive quickly enough. Victoria says he should have taken some of her lorazepam to sleep. This whole fucking show is a commercial for lorazepam. Saxon says he doesn't like taking drugs either. And Piper is like, what are you talking about? You take Adderall all day. And he says, yeah, to get stuff done. But of course, Saxon is an Adderall guy and a steroid guy.
Yeah.
According to his sister.
Do you think that was a little winky wink at his Schwarzenegger lineage?
That's a good question. Yeah. Arnold notably juiced up back in his prime. He was huge. Yeah. Piper calls the hotel a Disneyland for rich bohemians from Malibu in their Lululemon yoga pants. And that's when Kate Boer, we learn her last name here, walks up and recognizes Victoria from a mutual friend's baby shower that they both went to in Austin. They spent the weekend together, Barrett. A whole weekend. And yet, Kate is super friendly. Victoria, Ratliff, could not be less interested in being friendly.
Very rude.
Basically acts like she's never seen this woman before in her life.
Yeah.
And she desperately wants her to leave her and her family alone.
That's right.
Please get away from me, you peasant.
Yeah.
You know? Barely responsive.
I feel, how would you have felt if she had just been like, you know what? I really don't want to chat. Can you leave us alone? I feel like that would have been nicer.
Yeah. I mean, this is like a Larry David.
This ultra cold shoulder was just, it's uncalled for.
It was like Curb Your Enthusiasm, this little scene here. Very Larry David coded.
Yeah.
The fact that she's just absolutely refusing to participate in the niceties with this lady. This is maybe 2 minutes you got to dedicate out of your morning.
Yeah, just a quick chat.
And it's not, I honestly, I sympathize with the annoyance. I get it. You're on a family vacation. You're at a resort. You don't really want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
That you don't have to, but like, come on, you spent the weekend, a whole weekend. That's a Friday and a Saturday, and maybe even saw each other on Sunday before they left to go back home. You got to give her something.
Yeah.
Got to give her something. What is Victoria's response or afterwards when her kids are like, hey, Mom, what the hell was that? Yeah. Why were you rude?
Yeah, nice of Lachlan to at least call her out a little bit, although it's short-lived.
He says you were standoffish at least. And she's like, we met at a baby shower 10 years ago. I mean, so what? Who cares? It's like, damn, that is Larry David. Saxon tells his mom that one of Kate's friends is a famous actress. And she responds, am I supposed to be impressed? Actresses are all basically prostitutes, if they're lucky. Am I right? And everybody laughs.
Is this where Saxon does like an insane laugh?
He does it a couple of times in this episode,
all right.
where you're just like, Jesus.
There's one time where they're all joking. They're all joking.
Oh, that's when he says he didn't get a happy ending after his massage.
Okay.
And then he's like,
that's right.
It's like an evil laugh that he just busts out of nowhere.
Yeah, this family is unhinged.
Yeah, except for Piper, who is disgusted by their behavior.
Do you think that we are headed for any type of redemption arc with this family? Because typically this show doesn't leave us feeling like 100% one way or the other about our characters, right? They all have something, if not redeemable, relatable.
I think Saxon has some potential for some changing of minds and hearts here. I don't mean us as the audience. I mean, I think something is going to occur with him that maybe we see the real him.
Okay.
Because this all feels like smoke and mirrors, right?
Maybe a front. With a big front. With a big back.
With a bigger back. I'm curious of that as well. It does seem to be something people are speculating about online too. Like, will Thailand and the spirituality and the wellness and the self-care stuff get any of these people to change? Now, I think Victoria is too far gone, and Timothy as well. But there's some hope with the kids that we'll see some transformation there. So definitely something to put a pin in. Yeah. After breakfast, the Ratliffs are greeted by health mentor Pam, who is one of the best characters on the show, even with like 3 lines so far through 2 episodes. She gives them their schedules for the day. Remember, Father Timothy's schedule is simply gym.
Yeah.
He has no other things organized. Victoria gets a massage, but not without popping some pills first, literally in front of the masseuse. Just very awkward behavior. Piper goes to a yoga class where the LBH creeps on her the entire time. Lachlan does a float deprivation tank, which I was jealous of. That looked sick. I've never done one of those.
Yeah.
Seems amazing.
Have you ever done a cold plunge?
No.
I did the spa at the resort this past week.
You did spa?
I did spa. And it was the one day where, you know, I followed protocol and just left my phone in the locker for the whole day, basically, while I was
Good for you.
doing spa. But the coolest thing that they had was this whole like cavernous room that they called like the thermal circuit. And so it had steam room, rain shower, sauna, snow shower, hot tub, and cold plunge.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I'd never done a cold plunge before. And this was a, you know, it was in the ground. It was this little vat, 50-degree temperature. I made it 1 second, Ross. 1 second I lasted in the cold plunge.
You got in and got out.
Like I got in, my feet, you know, I was taking it slow because I don't think your body wants, like, I know sometimes you just got to jump in, but not when it's this cold. Basically, I dropped in. As soon as that water like hits my neck, I was out. I was like, I can't do this. And then I went back and tried again, and I would just put my feet in, and it is like physically painful on your legs and your feet to do this. So it turns out I am not a cold plunge guy. I was like, oh yeah, I'll do 10 seconds. I'll do 10 seconds. No.
Just
1 second.
Hey, you tried though, dude. You tried, you know? That's what really matters.
I was able to spend numerous minutes in saunas and steam rooms, so you know, I'm a hot guy.
I'm guessing if I tried to do this, it would go about the same way because I hate the cold.
It's so cold. 50-degree water is so.
I've watched Joe Rogan in his fucking cold plunge, looking like he's about to die, having to breathe through it. Face looks like it's about to explode. I don't want that life. I'll do the hot tub.
Yeah,
I'll do the sauna. I'll sweat it out.
Yeah, sweat it out. Yeah.
But I don't want to freeze myself to death.
Yeah, we're sweat guys.
Just don't get it. Okay. But I will do a float tank.
Okay, deprivation tank.
Seems very peaceful. Yeah. And Saxon gets a sports massage where he immediately gets an erection, but does not go full Deshaun Watson or Justin Tucker. Thank the gods, because I thought that's what they were. I
did
was
think
like,
he was going to go.
He's going to use his boner to throw the towel off, and it's going to be a whole scandal. But he didn't do the Deshaun Watson, so we have to at least give him some credit
leaving.
There.
I think that left room for
improvement
for Saxon. Now he's obviously gross about it later, but at least we don't. I mean, and I guess we don't actually know what he did.
That's true.
But he was not, you know, pulling hands over.
Oh, you're making a good point, though. We do just leave the room. We don't know if at the end of the massage he asked for a happy ending or anything like that.
Or took the towel off, or
hopefully he was cool.
Did anything assaulty?
Yeah.
Let's hope not.
You got to go into a massage knowing. It's like you've seen. Isn't there a Seinfeld episode where Costanza gets a massage from a man and it moves?
Right.
And he's self-conscious about the fact that it moved.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what to make of it. You got to go into a massage with the mentality. You shut the dick down.
That's right.
Shut it down.
Yeah.
Power it back up when you leave.
Yeah.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Same as the dudes in the yoga classes that are ruining it for everybody. These fuckers in these massages, man.
Yeah.
Pull yourselves together. Jesus. So Timothy calls his assistant to see if his boy Kenny has checked in, but Kenny hasn't called. However, the Washington Post has. So now he's got the Washington Post and the Wall Street Journal on his ass.
Yeah.
Things are not going well for Tim.
Big story.
Pam goes and bugs Tim about using his cell phone, offers for him to put the phone away for the week again. He refuses, and then he goes running on the treadmill like he's trying to escape from something. I've never seen anyone run on a treadmill like they're actively fleeing on foot.
He was running. His run is very British.
Yeah, well, he's very British.
Jason Isaacs, he's a British guy. Lucius Malfoy. If you're a Harry Potter person.
Bad guy in The Patriot.
That's right. Anyway, but he's got that flare, that right arm kind of flaring.
Yeah.
British dudes, they do that.
You got to tuck that thing.
You got to tuck yeah.
Aerodynamics.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
It read very British to me. I feel like this is a great take. That was a British run.
Can any of the Brits in our audience confirm that?
I mean, you can rebut me. If you like.
We don't hear from the Brits often. We've got Canadian listeners.
A lot of Tylers.
Tons of Tylers. But I don't know.
Not many Brits.
If you're British and you're out there,
okay, yeah.
Let us hear from you.
Let us know if you thought the run was British.
Was that a British run? Or was he doing a bit of acting there? Yeah. Back in their room, Victoria calls the front desk to order some tea and just an absolute shit ton of Thai finger foods, all of which she can pronounce perfectly, which was a shock. While Saxon roots through the room for a blender for his protein shakes, they just keep adding douchey features to this guy, some of which I share. And I was like, God damn it.
Yeah.
She's like,
are you taking up one quarter of your suitcase for a giant thing of protein powder?
hell no.
Yeah.
That was in his suitcase?
I don't know. What do
I guess you're right. He packed that.
I think he packed his protein powder. He calls it his.
That's a psychotic move.
Yeah.
Victoria says, Jackson, I just had a massage. You're setting me back. He says his massage kind of sucked because it didn't have a happy ending. His mom laughs while he does his evil laugh.
He does his, yeah.
I didn't love his mom laughing, but at the same time, I was like, see, behind every douchebag guy, there's a mom who failed him.
Yeah.
You know? She should have said something there.
Yeah, you got to shut that down.
But she didn't. Timothy returns from the gym, deeply upset by time zones because he can't get anybody on the phone, and he's freaking out about this whole journalism situation back in the States. Piper and Lachlan go and lounge in the ocean hammocks. We already talked about the ocean hammocks.
Yeah,
I had a note that I wanted.
What was your note? You want one?
I want to be there.
You want to go to there?
I want to go to there. Lachlan says he tried to pray in the float tank, but he felt like he was just talking to himself. A little commentary on spirituality here. He challenges Piper about feeling a presence when she prays, suggesting it's just wishful thinking, and because she wants to feel something, she feels something. Now, Piper kind of, she's short in her response. She says, it's real.
Yep.
Gets a little defensive in her tone. But nevertheless, you know, a semi-deep conversation between brother and sister here until Lachlan decides to tell Piper that their older brother Saxon doesn't think Piper has had sex. Piper is like, how would he know? He doesn't know what I do. And also, how did this come up? Like, in what context was this conversation occurring? Lachlan tells her he was just saying it's weird because she's so hot, but she's never had sex. It was like a compliment, which of course makes matters worse and weirder. Piper is obviously offended, refuses to answer when Lachlan asks if she has had sex, though. And then you cue some ominous shots of monkeys walking and plotting.
Yeah, with their big red butts out.
Yep. Big old red butts. Also locusts.
Ah, yes.
Large, intimidating locusts.
Were you waiting for a frog tongue to snap that locust up?
I wasn't,
that
but now...
visual did not cross your mind? Okay,
no. Is that what you had going on?
Yeah. I was like, ooh.
Frog's coming.
Yeah, something's going to eat that locust.
Frog scene. No, they let you down. Maybe later in the season,
Maybe
Barrett.
so.
Yeah, they have begun the locust teasing here. So that night at dinner, Lachlan asks if their waitresses are women. Timothy says, ladyboys, maybe. And Saxon says, well, you know what they say. Having sex in Thailand is like eating a box of chocolates. You never know which one's going to have nuts.
Oh, here's just another manic laugh.
That's where the really evil one
laugh.
is.
Yeah,
You're right. You're right. Yeah.
This is where I was like, get it together.
What a bastardization of a Forrest Gump quote, though.
Yeah.
Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. No, having sex in Thailand is like a box of chocolates. You never know which one's going to have nuts. I was really curious if they would touch on this, though.
The ladyboys?
Yeah. And because that's like a thing everybody knows about Thailand culturally. And I feel like that's been their rep since you and I were small children.
I think Thailand in general is kind of known as a place for both like the LBH kind of dudes
and the tax scammers,
right? Which kind of corresponds with like this sexual tourism as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yes, 100%. So, did touch on that some. Piper tells Saxon to stay out of her personal life. Victoria tells them to try to get along because you need your family. You do. Most people don't have good values. They're scammers. You're all gorgeous and you come from money, so you have to be hyper vigilant, okay? You have to be on your guard. And
Nicely done.
And then she tells a story about how her brother used to pin her to the ground, hawk up a string of spit, and dangle it between her eyes till he'd finally suck it back up, which nearly made me gag. Why?
Yeah.
Why?
Did you ever do this to your little brother?
No.
Your little brother?
No.
You never hawked a loogie on like above his face?
I was definitely not always the kindest big brother, but this is just a step too far for me. I don't do spit play. You know?
Everybody knows that about you.
That's a thing people do know about me. Yeah. Tim gets a call and has to leave the table because that's what Daddy Tim does.
Notable, the little line that they throw in there where she's like, I hated him for years, but now we're close.
Yeah.
You know, but you fucking hated him. It was awful. It wasn't like a good relationship building thing. Like, you know, it's traumatic to have somebody bully you like that, even if it's a sibling. So,
and that's just a gross method.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, Tim gets a call, has to leave the table. so he calls his business bro Kenny back and presses him about why the Wall Street Journal is calling. Now, Kenny is voiced by, and I can never pronounce this kid's name. Ke Quan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Of Indiana Jones, The Goonies.
Yes.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once fame.
Immediately notable. This is, and I'm just going to come right out and say this. I hated this. I hated this.
You didn't like that you could recognize the voice?
No, this was, I don't think we're going to see Kenny because we never, in White Lotus, we never go home. We never go to another
country.
So to me, this was like a weird piece of stunt cameo casting because everybody knows this guy's voice.
See, okay, I didn't know who it was. I was like, that voice is extremely familiar, and I don't care.
And then also on the phone and with the hysterics, he also bleeds into like Gollum several times. He sounds like, if you watch this again, you're going to be like, oh yeah, that's also Gollum.
It was weird.
And it just did not feel this. The phone call with him took me out of it. The voice was too recognizable. It was too hysterical. I thought the whole thing was strange for the White Lotus.
Do you remember in season 2?
This is supposed to be like a serious grounding scene that this dude is fucked.
Yeah.
And all I could think about was this guy screeching into the telephone.
Do you remember
and picturing him? I know, he's a very specific character actor.
Oh yeah.
That has a specific look and a specific voice, and he does his thing, So it was, I don't know, I didn't like this.
There was a point, and I think it was the White Lotus, and I want to say it was season 2, where somebody was calling back home to their wife. Oh, it was Michael Imperioli's character.
Yes, and it's Laura Dern. It was Laura Dern's voice. Yeah.
So it's a thing Mike White likes to do.
It's a good point. Yeah.
But even that was a little weird when that was, because we were like, who is that? Sounds like it sounds like someone we know. It eventually came out it was Laura Dern. We were like, is Laura Dern going to show up? Like, it was kind of distracting from the plot.
Yes. Yeah.
This one even more so, because again, I didn't recognize his voice, but I had like 8 different tweets and DMs and shit within 5 hours of the episode ending being like, hey, did you catch that it was the dude from Everything Everywhere All at Once? And I was just
how
like,
could you not?
God damn it.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I don't think he'll be a part of the show beyond that phone call.
Yeah.
Because it sounded like that might be the last one he makes, because Kenny says 20 FBI agents just raided his fucking office and he's going to kill himself because he can't go to prison. Tim says Kenny told him this couldn't happen. He's like, you promised me when I got in on this, basically, that like we would not get caught, is in so many words. That's what he's saying. Kenny says he didn't think he'd have some whistleblower bitch in his office that was going to rat him out to the media. Kenny says they have everything. They have his accounts, his emails, all the fucking documents, that he never should have gone to Brunei, which, remember, Brunei came up in first episode, that he shouldn't have taken that position, but everyone was making a killing. Now, when he says position, this sounds like an insider trading thing. Because you take a position on a stock.
Right.
You short a stock, or buy a stock or whatever. But I believe that's supposed to be our takeaway. Okay. This is insider trading.
That sounds right. Yep.
Tim wants to know if he's implicated, of course, and Kenny assures him that he for sure is. A definite yes. Tim is pissed because he said he just did this as a favor to Kenny, and now he's wrapped up in some money laundering bribery situation, and he only made $10 million out of this stupid fucking scheme.
Clunky line again.
$10 million.
We don't need that doesn't matter. It's expositional. We don't need it. Like, it just adds to the fact that like 10 million,
they put it in there because they're trying to like
10 million is nothing to Tim Ratliff. Okay, I don't know. That doesn't help me character wise, and it just felt.
I just didn't even buy it because what? Okay, let's just draw this out. Let's say Tim Ratliff is worth $100 million.
Yeah.
A guy worth $100 million doesn't care about $10 million.
No,
my
definitely
ass.
Does. Right.
That's how you become worth $100 million.
Yeah.
So you're right. I agree. Clunky line.
Yeah.
A little bit weird. Tim threatens to kill Kenny if he fucks him on this, which he very clearly already has. I don't know how he could possibly fuck him any harder than he already has. Kenny says he's going to kill himself so he doesn't have to worry about Tim killing him, and Tim tells him, good, do it, you piece of shit. Which, it got really dark here at the end of this phone call, and you've got Guy Talk in the security booth over there who can hear all of this and see all of it occurring. Made you wonder if somehow that's going to tie in, but after that, Tim calls somebody else to try to get a lawyer for himself. Clearly, though, based on his face and facial acting, he can feel the walls closing in. Like, this is very, very bad.
Yeah.
Like, he is going to prison. His life is potentially in deep, deep trouble here. Just an assumption. or guess on where we go with Tim Ratliff, I think he might have to stay behind in Thailand.
Okay.
And his family is going to leave him and go back home. And he'll just be one of the LBHs permanently over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got to avoid extradition.
Sure. That's a good thing to string out there. I would also say, and I'm making, I'm surmising based a little bit on what we saw in some of the trailers, but this family obviously like has a massive part of their identity wrapped up in the fact that they are indeed quite rich.
Right.
And so if they are suddenly no longer rich,
what will that do to them?
What will that do to them? Yeah.
And that's a fun thing to play with, right? I've just Googled, and actually Thailand has an extradition treaty with the United States. So don't know that staying there would help him out much. Belinda, bounce over to Belinda. Our Maui? Is it the White Lotus Maui that she's come over from? She was in season 1. Belinda wakes up to her alarm, disoriented, and says, okay, Thailand, let's do this. At first, she doesn't realize where she's like, where the hell am I? Then she goes and meets up with Porchai, who is going to give her his signature treatment, the warrior massage. And in exchange, afterward, Belinda will give him her signature treatment, and then they will discuss. Basically, it's like I don't know what you call this, but, it's a meeting of minds where you trade secrets with each other.
Right.
And you each get better at your jobs, right? The warrior massage looks awesome. It starts with a scrub on the feet with sea salt, and then a good neck crack. It's really working her. I was like, that's a chiropractor move, bro. What are you doing?
I'll pass on the neck crack.
Seemed dangerous.
Yeah.
Next, it's his turn to see what she's got, and Porchai comes out in his boxers looking fit and asks, so how would you like me, on my back or on my stomach? And Belinda pretty obviously has a little bit of a crush going here on Porchai, right? Yeah. So that's kind of it for Belinda, except for that night at dinner, she recognizes Greg, a.k.a. Gary, and is seemingly trying to place him in her memory. Like, she's like, where do I know that LBH from? But if you remember, Belinda and Tanya were very close for a time there in Hawaii.
Right.
And Tanya brought up Greg.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure Belinda met them together at one point. I can't recall.
Yeah. And Tanya was going to fund like a new endeavor for Belinda, like wanted her to basically bankroll her for her own spot. Basically.
You're the best massage I've ever had.
Like you should have your own spot.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to bankroll it. We're going to do this together. And then essentially bails on her at the end, kind of hangs her out to dry. I think kind of in service of Greg, because like Greg doesn't want to, or Gary doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want her to do that. He's obviously very controlling of the purse strings from the jump.
Right.
She has this new man in her life who she, makes the unfortunate decision to go along with. And the next thing
Belinda gets screwed.
And the next thing you know, the gays are trying to kill her, and Belinda is screwed.
Yeah. So finally, Rick the Dick and his incredible girlfriend Chelsea, far and away my favorite couple on this season. Chelsea is so far to me the best character on the season.
Good character.
Period. Yeah. At breakfast, they are greeted by their wellness guide Mook, who informs Chelsea that she will be attending a body scrub and waxing session this morning, while Rick will be in a stress management session with Dr. Amrita. Rick is not stoked, did not sign up for this. Chelsea signed him up for it, right? So Chelsea tells Rick about the friend she met at the bar last night, that she lives on top of the hill with her boyfriend who must be loaded, and they're inviting them for dinner. And Chelsea already told them yes. She assures Rick she'll have loads in common with her new friend's boyfriend because they're both old and balding. Rick spots Sritala at another table and he's like staring her down. I keep being like, is that his mom? Like, what the hell are we doing here? I don't know.
Could Sritala's American husband be his dad?
Maybe.
Is he lying about the dad thing?
That's another spot I'm kind of looking toward. Like, I feel like there's like a family angle here. Like, he's trying to track his dad down or something. But So Chelsea gets her body scrub and waxing treatment, tells her scrubber that in the Enneagram, she's a 9, an easygoing peacemaker, also quite complacent, which isn't always good. And she tells the scrubber that she's probably a 2. Yeah, most healers are 2s. Now, I don't know this Enneagram thing.
Yeah, it's a personality test.
Bet my wife does, though. Rick goes to his session with Dr. Amrita, and she asks him his level of stress out of 10, and he puts himself at an 8. And when she asks before he answered, I was doing it for myself, and I came up with 8. So I did not feel good that me and Rick picked the same number. I was like, I've got to fucking work on myself. He even says weed helps, but I didn't want to travel with it, and that's why I stay at home. Amrita asks if he can remember a time in his life when he was totally free of stress as a child even. Hated this fucking question. Tried to remember the last time I felt not free of stress. Couldn't come up with anything. He says, well, my mother was a drug addict, so she OD'd when I was 10, so... And he's like, well, what about your father? She asked about his father. He died before he was born. He was murdered. He's like, yeah, real fun shit to talk about, right? Which therapy is fun. Now, this got me on the angle of like, okay, did Sritala's husband kill Rick's dad?
Okay.
But that just seems kind of outlandish, right?
Yeah.
He's over here in Thailand trying to find this resort owner who's actually a famous American businessman because that killed his dad. Like, I don't know. I kind of like your angle more, which like maybe it is his dad and he's lying about his dad getting killed. I don't know. But Amrita tells him that meditation can bring relief to psychic pain, that it helps you see the identity you've created brings you suffering. Rick counters that with, I never had an identity. I don't need to detach. I'm already nothing. She says, even nothing can be an illusion, you tell yourself. And then he responds with this. If nobody puts gas in the tank is empty. That's not an illusion. The car won't start. Nothing comes from nothing, right? And Amrita seems like stumped or challenged by Rick's outlook. Did you have a takeaway from that? Because I spent some time with this. I was like, okay, what the fuck does he mean? Because they're getting into some like Buddhist type
They are.
Here.
And I've not had a chance to dive deep into this episode or read up on my theology the way that Piper's doing. But I feel like a lot of what he was saying is pretty Buddhist.
Like,
honestly.
I don't need to detach. I'm already nothing. Like he sees himself as unimportant and sort of meaningless.
Yeah, because
right?
I think Buddhism, I believe, is like very spiritual, but I think there's also an element of kind of like nihilism to it.
From a certain angle, because it's more collectivism than it is individualism.
Right,
it's like we're all just a small piece of the whole.
Yes,
we're all unimportant in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, so not that like nothing matters, but that we ourselves are kind of unimportant.
Yeah, it's not full on. We believe in nothing, Lebowski.
Yeah.
But it's in a different lane.
Yeah.
Carrying similar vibes. Yeah. Anyway, just
but yeah, it was interesting, you know, to hear him talk about like not filling up his own tank with anything, you know, because you could interpret that in a lot of different ways.
Well, and also, I think we've just kind of been operating under the assumption, most of us watching, that like, okay, Rick's just kind of an asshole. He has some weird shady past. There's probably not a lot of depth to him as a human being, as a man. But he clearly has done some soul searching. He's dropping these lines on her that only a person who has done some self-exploration would be able to drop. So there's more depth to Rick than we initially may have thought. It's just a more generic takeaway if you don't want to get into the specifics. At lunch, Chelsea asks Rick how his wise Indian session went, and Rick says Amrita made him sign up for another one, but there's no fucking way he's going to do that. She's like, come on, it's good to talk about things with a wise Indian. She says, God, you're so shut down. And he's like, and you are an idiot. And Chloe then walks up, Greg's girlfriend, or Gary, and says hey to Chelsea, introduces herself to Rick, who basically ignores her. Chelsea is going to go hang out with Chloe while Rick takes a nap since he's such a grumpy Gus. At the beach, Chloe compliments Rick's cuteness, and Chelsea apologizes for how rude he is. Chloe says, don't even apologize. Gary is so rude. But I got Gary's credit card for the day to make up for how rude he was to me recently. So they're going to go shopping. Saxon walks by and says, what's up? What's going on? Tries to hit on them. And Chelsea says he's from a family of wankers, which was a hilarious line. So Chelsea and Chloe go shopping, where, of course, the robbery occurs. Now, another note on top of Valentine seemingly maybe being in on it. Chloe was in the changing room and almost suspiciously missed the entire thing. She comes out and is like, what the hell was that? And it just kind of made me red flag, like, well, we don't know much about her. And by the end of the episode, Rick is saying she's a prostitute, so I don't know. Maybe she also was in on it. I don't know.
Could be.
Just saying.
Could be.
Just saying.
Yeah. Yep.
In the aftermath of the robbery, Rick and Chelsea go to dinner with Chloe and Greg, a.k.a. Gary. Chelsea and Rick got their room comped due to the robbery. Rick asks Gary what he does for work. Gary says he's retired. Gary asks Rick what he does for work, and Rick replies, well, the same thing that you do, Gary, this and that. And Gary says, you meet a lot of different people here who do this and that. Again, alluding to like Thailand is sort of the spot for these dudes, right? These shady characters. Rick says, decent line of work. And Gary says, it can be. Then Rick asks where Gary and Chloe met, and it gets awkward because Gary says in Dubai, and Chloe says through a matchmaking service, which I didn't immediately flag as like, oh, that's like a sex worker thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Rick certainly did.
Yeah.
Gary says they're different ages. He's American, she's French, but they get along. Chloe is immediately offended because she's not French. She's from Quebec. She's Canadian, French-Canadian, but Gary thinks it's all the same. French-Canadian, whatever. They bicker. Finally, Sritala performs one of her bangers. I was thinking Sritala was going to get up there and low-key suck ass, and everyone would have to awkwardly pretend she was good, but no, Sritala has the hits.
Yeah.
First 20 seconds or so, a little low-key, then the beat drop, and the background singers get going. Buddy, we got a stew going.
Certified pop banger.
Yeah, absolutely. They got a dude in a loincloth doing Cirque du Soleil type shit, a full band, dancers, backup singers. Fabian knows all the words to the song she's singing. And once again, Rick stares Sritala down. After her performance, Sritala tells Jacqueline, Kate, and Lori that she's leaving for Bangkok tomorrow. Her and her husband come back and forth from Bangkok. He just got out of the hospital. Last week he had a stroke. He's had a few strokes. He's a fighter, she says. And Rick is ripping a heater and overhearing all of this, right? So that night, Chelsea says she almost died today and needs Rick to hold her. Rick tells Chelsea that Chloe is a hooker. He says they met through a matchmaking service in Dubai. She's a hooker. Rick tells Chelsea he has to go to Bangkok for a night or two, so he's going to leave. He says, I just got to deal with something. And when she questions him, he tells her not to worry about it, and then he moasts her. Will Rick go to Bangkok? Are we going to go to Bangkok? Because I guess technically in season 2, we did some traveling around Italy.
Travel, yeah. I think we're going to Bangkok. Maybe not next episode, but I think we're going to go to Bangkok.
Follow Rick to... I think it'll probably be next episode.
Maybe so.
Because you got to get right to it. Anyway, that's our episode 2 of season 3 of The White Lotus here. Any final thoughts?
Yeah. I just to concern troll a little bit, the season through 2 episodes does feel like it is missing something to me. And I'm not sure what it is. But I'm just kind of on alert because and it might just be that I liked season 2 too much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I really did. It's probably one of my favorite seasons of television ever. And the fact that the four mains, the 2 couples in season 2, I think because they were pitched at us so directly in a way that made so much sense from our station in life, and age and everything else. Maybe I'm just a little too attached to season 2. But are you getting any of that? Are you like completely tapped in and locked in the way you've been in the first 2 seasons?
I mean,
or is there something that you're kind of waiting to click into place here?
No, I don't. Look, it kind of goes hand in hand with my thoughts on the theme song. Nobody 2 episodes into season 2 was going, this is the greatest theme song of all time. Halfway through the season, that was the people started to really jump on board.
Right.
But similarly, I don't think I've ever watched the first 2 episodes of either of the first 2 seasons of this show and been really stoked. It takes time to kind of develop the characters, introduce all the different aspects of the season that they want to introduce. And then really the fun on the White Lotus doesn't start until the chaos does, when things start to come unraveled,
right?
Right. And I'm still very excited for the season because it does feel like we have more pieces on the board than usual. Like it's like 4 or 5 different groups of people really that we're dealing with here. And I definitely through 2 episodes, I'm kind of with you. I'm like, all right, this is fun. Visually, it looks great. There've been a couple of lines here or there that I was like, didn't love that or whatever. There've been a couple lines here or there where I was like, that's fucking great writing. The performances are fantastic.
Always.
The cast is going to be great.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I'm not elated yet. And I'll also, just for the sake of our audience, who many of which are watching Severance with us as well, it is kind of tough to go from a show where every episode you're like, holy shit, what is happening? This is insane. Questions, theories, all that. And then on the White Lotus, it's like, you just kind of watch it and move on with your life. There's not like a ton to dissect in terms of, we can't sit here and be like, all right, now who's going to die? Like that isn't the way, like I've said before, that's not how you should watch The White Lotus, trying to like do the legwork to figure out who's the shooter, who's going to die. Like it's a character thing. It's about figuring out these individuals and what motivates them and what kind of people they are and theorizing about sort of where things could go for them this season. So By and large, I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, you could call it lackluster through 2 episodes. I just don't necessarily think that's fair.
Yeah, I wouldn't even go so far as to call it lackluster. I just have this sense that I'm kind of waiting for him to turn the screws a little bit on these characters. And
ratchet up the intensity a little?
Yes. I feel like where we've gotten it best is with the 3 the women,
the trio,
where you can feel that water starting to simmer a little bit,
that animosity,
right?
Yeah,
and so I'm kind of waiting. I'd like to see some more of that in with I think maybe with the Ratliffs especially.
Yeah, because it's like, what are we doing?
Let's tear those walls down.
No, I agree with you, because you know Timothy is screwed. You know he's got some illegal business dealing that he's getting caught for. But like, what's going to happen with these other 4 people?
Right. Yeah.
You got 3 kids to play with and the mom. Is the mom's whole thing just going to be that she's lorazepam out and fucking rude the whole season? Like, that's it?
Yeah.
Or is there going to be some depth to plumb there, too? Right. So, yeah, I'm with you. I just think you got to give it a fair shake. You got to kind of wait and see. How many episodes are in this season? Do you remember?
I don't remember.
8.
8. Okay.
8, which I think makes it the longest of the 3 seasons.
Okay.
Season 2 had 6. No, the first season had 6. The second season had 7. This one has 8.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we've gone up 1 every year.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that's another thing to keep in mind.
That is definitely...
Might be moving a little more slowly.
So slightly more slowly. Yeah.
Because they have the room to do so,
they do.
perhaps.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, overall, still, quite an enjoyable situation that we've got ourselves into here. And as you mentioned, performances, scenery, always top notch. So.
Oh yeah, beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
Remember, Barrett and I will be back later this week on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles, taking hotline calls from listeners and further digesting and discussing The White Lotus Season 3 through 2 episodes. Again, tomorrow on Patreon, Barrett and I will be releasing our Severance Season 2 Episode 6 companion podcast. I would also note, I watched a few things while you were gone, which I will want to touch on on Patreon. One of which is I'm about halfway through SNL 50. I will have thoughts.
Okay.
But just by and large, my thought is you were right. It's pretty amazing. It's unbelievable. It's so fucking entertaining, minus the commercials. I watched Longlegs.
Oh, okay.
And I watched Concord, which is the Catholic...
Conclave?
Conclave. Yeah.
I would like to watch
the one about
Conclave.
the papacy.
That's right.
And the Pope.
That's high on my list, actually.
Yeah. So I'll have some thoughts on those on Patreon as well. Remember, you can get on patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles now and enjoy a 7-day free trial to see how awesome those ad-free episodes are. And then when this Thursday's episode drops, you'll get hotline calls about the first 2 episodes of The White Lotus Season 3, patreon.com/oysters, clams, cockles. Also, please support our sponsors all season long. That is the other way we pay the bills here at Bolin Media. Today we had factormeals.com/factorpodcast. It's a new code, Factor Podcast, that you use to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next 4 boxes. Get in there and support us by supporting them and yourself with some good grub. Follow Mr. Dudley on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Dudley, BARRETT Dudley, and I'm at WRBOLEN, WR Bolin. Go to bolinmedia.com/shop to grab yourself a White Lotus Blossom Circle coffee mug or t-shirt. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We look forward to hearing everyone's reactions on Patreon and reading them on social media. Until next time.